All right, Liz, we should be good to go.
Okay. Do you want me to open the meeting?
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for coming. I'd like to open the MBTA 3A subcommittee meeting on June 6th, 2024.
Excellent. Do you want me to start, Liz?
Yes, if you could start, that would be great, and then I'll chime in as needed.
All right. So I know the main purpose for this meeting was to basically get our final preparations in place for the June 11th public outreach meetings. Forewarning, there was a bit of a communication breakdown with our consultant. The plan was for tonight to have our presentation material together for the June 11th meeting, as well as the handouts. Barrett Consulting did offer us handouts, which I can pull up, what they had, and what they recommended was they did submit a presentation that they used for the town of Easton as basically a template, and essentially said, why don't you let us know what you would want added or subtracted to this, which I have some comments on it when we get to it. And essentially that is what we can form into the June 11th presentation. So I don't know how you would like me to proceed, Liz, but what are you thinking?
Well, do we want to talk a little bit more about how we kind of foresee the day going, and then maybe we can circle back to the presentation materials, if that works?
Sure, I think that, I mean, that makes sense to the rest of the subcommittee.
Sure, yeah, absolutely, sure.
So I get, oh, sorry, go ahead, Liz.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say, you know, Rob and I talked briefly yesterday just to kind of finalize sort of our vision for the meeting. Both meetings, the 1 o'clock and the 7 o'clock. So you know, our thoughts, and then obviously Sahan and Bill, you guys can weigh in on what you think. But we felt like maybe there should be a formal presentation, you know, by parts presented by Rob, myself, potentially Dennis Green, and then the consultant. And, you know, just kind of really, I don't want to say narrowing, but like refining the message, because there's a lot of controversy surrounding these new regulations, right? There's a lot of misinformation. So we want to make sure that the audience is able to sort of hear all of the things that we've been learning about over the last several months, and kind of dispel some of the misinformation that's out there on social media and whatnot. You know, my thoughts are maybe we don't do an hour presentation, but we break it down into sections, and that way the audience can sort of ask questions as we go through certain things. And, you know, obviously Barrett's portion is going to be very technically inclined, so, you know, some of those things even go over, you know, my head. So, you know, that part may not have as much audience interaction, but who knows? And then I'll say one more thing and then open it up to the rest of the subcommittee. But Rob and I were also thinking, you know, Sahan, Bill, and Jeff, for whichever meeting he can attend, would also sit up front with us during the presentation, similar to kind of how we are set up now, so that you also can field questions as well. Because we're all, you know, working together, and everyone on the subcommittee has a lot of knowledge at this point of the process and kind of where we've been. So we want to make it a collaborative effort, but also kind of steer the conversation the way we want it to go. So with that, I will mute and let you guys discuss.
I think that's fine. I was at the senior center. I had a meeting on a week ago Tuesday for a coffee group, and I was allowed to speak about the MBTA overview and what we're doing, overlay what we're doing. Some of the people in the room were there. We're gonna get a lot of questions. There is some misinformation out there. The people, after they were explained what was going on and what the options were, and I didn't go into great detail. I think they have a sense of what we want to do. But I think they also are aware that particularly online, there may be some misinformation going around town. It's correct if I'm wrong, it's been well publicized at the senior center. I expect a decent crowd at both sessions.
We've been, anybody that came in, we told them about it.
Okay,
There were signs posted, we had handouts, so. I don't know what more we can do.
and I thank you for that. And then, the board thanks you. What do you think we could get at 1 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon? 30 people?
Maybe even more.
Okay, and how about 7 at night?
That's questionable. That could be a lot more.
Okay.
A lot of people don't like to drive at night.
Okay, I understand.
Could go either way.
The problem too is that at night there aren't any vans driving, right, they can't get rides on the van, so hopefully those people will come to the 1 o'clock meeting.
All right,
But it's not being limited to senior center either. Anybody that wants to show up.
absolutely,
Yeah.
of course. Yep,
Yeah, and my office has gotten a few calls, which is a good sign that word has gotten out for this, with the flyers at the senior center.
but I think the groundwork was laid last week. And, we got some, good questions
Definitely.
and good discussion.
Good.
And I think we'll get that probably next week.
Agreed, agreed.
Great. Any other questions kind of about the general format? Or are we
I think the
all,
format's fine.
Kind of like how the format has run at these meetings. I feel like it's been formal but informal as well and
Yeah.
comfortable. So if we can,
I don't think we want to get lost in the weeds of the technical stuff.
yeah, I agree.
Give an overview of what our approach is. It would be nice to let people know what the possible impact is dollar-wise for the town of Bellingham. If we say no.
I agree, and, well, Liz, if you want, I don't know if this is the time to hop into the presentation or. but-
yeah, I think that works because obviously if we want Dennis to speak, we need to tell him what we want him to cover. And, yeah, this is a good time to discuss the presentation. And then after that, I do have a question about, AV equipment at the senior center, so we can kind of roll with that after we talk about the presentation.
Sure, that works. I know just the things that I jotted down quickly as far as the components of the presentation is really regulatory overview, the grants and money at stake, requirements for the town, which kind of falls into that regulatory overview. The actual proposed overlay locations, kind of like what I had in that initial PowerPoint, which actually came from Barrett Consulting's PowerPoint to us. And then lastly, a conclusion summary, which can then can transition into a Q&A. Let me just show you what.
Rob, can I interrupt you quickly?
Absolutely.
At the beginning, I think it would be good to have an overview of what has been done so far. Because the select board sent the letter to asking for an exemption, et cetera, et cetera. Like, we all know that happened, but I don't think the general public understands, how we got from that to here. So I would like to add that maybe at the beginning, just like a quick 5-minute, what have we done already?
I am going to share my screen.
Oh, perfect. You already got it.
Yeah, because you can see that, right?
Yep.
So this was Barrett's presentation for Easton, which we discussed today on how we're going to kind of change some things for Bellingham. But if you look, Sorry, trying to get my clicker to work here. So when you go through this, it's pretty much what I mentioned with the overview itself. The first few slides go over the community's law. Then we have the MBTA communities and how they're defined. The basic requirements. This is kind of important because it goes over, the next slide goes over what not necessarily the purpose, but how this is really a zoning exercise and doesn't actually require the construction itself. They go over the state role, compliance deadlines, which this one, I don't know if we necessarily need to get into that, but we can. But let me see. This one is a bit long-winded on the compliance itself, and there's actually a portion in here that I don't think that we should include in ours, which I'll go over in a minute, but basically, this goes over the density requirements and the capacities that are required for the community. A lot of this, like I said, can be trimmed down to be a lot more, I guess, user-friendly. Those are the minimum requirements, which you already have. And then these next slides go over, you know, why should we comply, which for Easton, there's a lot of conversation, I think, regarding the fact that Easton's housing supply hasn't really developed quite like Bellingham's. So this whole argument regarding the need for multifamily units, I don't think necessarily qualifies for Bellingham. That's not really the reason why the subcommittee is looking at doing this, but that's where all of this comes in, which I don't think should necessarily be added into our slideshow, but this is the important one right here.
I think that first line is the most important. Yeah, we lose grants, but it's the law.
Exactly, and that's why
Yeah.
well, this is important, but there, I forget what slide it is, but it basically states that you know, you want more diverse housing supply in Easton. It's like, well,
Yeah,
we've got that in
yeah.
Bellingham,
Yeah.
so
I think why comply, this is important, obviously, the funding, but,
agreed.
you know, it's not just that, the state is looking to sue some of these communities that are already beyond their timeline.
Yeah,
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What are they suing them for?
I don't exactly know, Bill, what the ramifications
Okay.
of suing a community would be, but, you know, the Attorney General's office has initiated. There was communities that actually have a station. I think those are the ones that had to come into compliance by last December.
Correct.
And
Yep.
the ones that didn't, and there's only a handful. If you go and look at the number of communities that have come into compliance, it's a pretty good list. And then a lot of them are like us are working towards it. There's only a handful that are, you know, truly being defiant.
Yeah.
Not looking for a solution as we did. I mean, fortunately, we found a solution. If we were having to provide 750 units, maybe we'd be defiant too. I don't know.
Yeah. Definitely.
Rob, that's a good point. I think either you or Barrett or whoever should put up that map from the state that it shows which towns are in compliance and which ones aren't. Not, because that one's just the communities, isn't it? It's just what communities are what, but there's a map that's interactive and it updates every day that the state is tracking.
This one, but compliant, because this one just shows the designated.
Yeah, the one
Yeah.
that's compliant. So you can see that, you know, there's 30 communities that have submitted it or have been approved. And there's only 10 that are non-compliant, et cetera, because that's a question I think we get pretty often. Like, what are other towns doing? How many are fighting it? How many aren't?
Absolutely. No, that's a great point, Liz. The two critical things that I think definitely need to go in the presentation, this one, which for Easton's different, but we have, you know, we have a lot of grants at stake here, and this will be something that'll be great to, add to our presentation, but to your point, Liz, about, steps that have been taken so far, this slide was one that Easton did, and ours can be probably even more vast, because I know we have done a lot up until this date with different meetings with the subcommittee. The select board has been involved at the beginning, all of these items that are, I think, critical. That you're right, I don't think a lot of the public knows what steps have been taken by the town. So,
Can you go back 2 slides
to
where it
what?
show the impact for the town of Easton?
Oh, this one?
Yeah, I think we may need, potentially 2 slides for this. I think our impact will be greater. But we also need to let the people know that this is impacting grants we don't even know about yet. Because if we say no, future grants are not available.
Yeah,
I don't know, we have stuff down the road for Hartford Avenue. But then if they have a grant for, let's say, artificial intelligence in schools or towns. Well, any future grants, we are not eligible.
correct.
I think Rob and I can sit and fine tune these slides.
Oh, yeah.
And have them address
Okay,
what the impacts are of Bellingham, but certainly the grants that are pending, and it's a good point, future grants.
and just have 1 slide with the total number.
Absolutely.
And also kind of highlight on that, when governor had a press conference about it, I think it was a very recent one, and then as well as Attorney General's office, they left it open, like, it's open, it's anything can be. So they didn't really clarify what's the consequences might be.
Yep,
They
it could be
left
more
it
than
out.
grants.
So, yeah, they left it out that open.
Yeah,
We receive obviously tens of millions of dollars in state aid every year,
Mhm.
cherry sheet funding, would that be jeopardized? I don't know. But those are the types of things I think we need to,
Yeah.
it's possible.
definitely. I think to your point, I mean, this is the critical thing that I think people need to see. And then just moving on from there was pretty much going into, see, this is similar to kind of the slides that I had with just a brief summary of the sub-districts that were, at this point, were under consideration. So we have 2, they had, I think, 3 different areas. So, we have that information, and then basically that's it. They just ended with that. So I think the components that I had, the regulatory overview, grants, requirements for the town, the actual, what the subcommittee has come up with the solution, and then just a conclusion and summary, I think are the critical items here for this. And this can be catered pretty easily and quickly, I think. So, what I had.
And Melissa's right. I mean, what does, or maybe, Nick said that, I forget, but what does this mean to Bellingham? I mean, we're putting an overlay over an existing 550 units theoretically. There could be another 200 somehow developed. Whether or not that's likely to happen, we know that the Curtis Apartments likely will put one up in front,
Correct.
which is consistent with what's there and makes sense.
Yep,
But the nice thing is this housing is already in existence for the most part. The impacts are there. It's not something new that we're introducing to a neighborhood. So it's, I think it's the least detrimental to the town.
going back to that list, I know I mentioned the grand total for numbers. But I also think we need to let people know it's gonna impact public service and our infrastructure. And we can't put a figure
What do you mean if we didn't comply?
if we didn't comply.
If we did not comply?
Yeah,
It's gonna impact, roads, police and fire and delivery of services,
correct.
DPW. All the way down the line.
Yeah, and one item too that was in this slide, actually, just to that point from the other side of things, is that if the town does comply, if there is indeed some type of development that comes in, the question then becomes, well, how does that impact the infrastructure? You're right about, I think, not having grants for holistically looking at the town's infrastructure is critical. But I know that that will probably be a question about, okay, well, if these do get built, what does that mean for traffic, for our utilities? Which one item that was mentioned in this slide, which is actually a good point, is that the town doesn't have any obligation to heightening or expanding or improving any infrastructure based on this overlay, because that's part of the planning board process. When they go in for site plan review, they are required to look at these items. So that is kind of put on the developer, but that's way down the road. That's not even really the zoning exercise related. So.
Do we?
Rob,
wanna-
I think for that question, maybe we don't address it in the slides, but have a canned answer. Any new development still goes through the permitting process. The planning board does the site plan review, so on and so forth. And then I think that's the answer. I know people are concerned about potential impacts of new development, et cetera, but we really don't know. We have no idea if any of this will actually get built. It's just, we're just doing the zoning exercise to be in compliance.
I agree. I think one of the worst things we can do is mix zoning with potential future permitting, because that will confuse a lot of people. So, and like you said, Liz, it's unknown at this point. So there's no way we can really, nobody has a crystal ball here.
We've talked about the impact for losing grants. I think somehow we need to put a statement there that beyond that, to make up for this loss of revenue, we could see taxes increase perhaps dramatically, and the frequency of overrides, or an increase in the frequency of overrides. Because I think those are the two things, the sources of funding that we'll miss have to be made up to the residents, either in taxes or overrides.
Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah, we do receive a considerable amount of money in infrastructure. Grants, chapter 90 alone is $600,000 a year, and then, some of the large road projects that we've done, we depend on state grants, the Mass Works grant, to do all the work that we've done out front and on South Main, and hopefully we'll be doing it on Hartford Avenue. So, obviously, people have the right to say no and vote no.
Of course they do.
Things, but then there'd be less services.
Yeah. And I think that that's also what you just said, Dennis, is critical as well. I don't want to put it anywhere in the slides, but if it does come up, I mean, unlike, the planning board, zoning board, or conservation commission, this subcommittee is not tasked with approving this or anything. I mean, it goes to town meeting, so I think.
And we are not writing the warrant either.
No, and I think, so I do envision that there will probably be some people that show up who are just strictly against this and are wondering why is the town even pondering the idea of not fighting this? And I mean, the simple answer is that, everyone has the right to go to town meeting and vote against this. And hopefully that is not the case, but it would be, I think, disingenuous for this subcommittee to not try and find a way to comply with this, keep our grants safe, and not hinder quality of life in Bellingham as much as this zoning could really affect the community. So, I think obviously I would not put that in the slides, but that's, I think, the simple answer when that comes up. So.
Okay, any other comments about the presentation? It sounds like, Rob, you and Dennis are going to kind of get together between now and Tuesday and figure some of this stuff out. I'm happy to help out as well if there's anything you need me to do, and then we can figure out who's gonna say what part on Tuesday. So I think it's pretty straightforward.
Absolutely. Now that I have this, I mean, critically, I want to get a draft put together by the end of the day tomorrow, so.
Okay,
But, you know, Dennis, you and I can maybe sit down on Monday or whenever you're available. Perfect.
and my question about the equipment at the senior center, I just wanted to make sure they had the ability to show the presentation, on a screen or projector, whatever. And if we are going to either videotape or try to stream it on the cable channel, that we figure that stuff out too.
I'm getting, affirmative nods from people
Okay,
who work at the senior center.
perfect.
I would also throw out an idea. And unfortunately, I will be on vacation next week, but I plan to drive up for at least one session. More fortunately, I'm on vacation. I'm ready to look at it. Maybe Monday, we have some people go down there and do a dry run.
We'll have IT go down there ahead of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll have Karen go down and make sure everything's working the
Yep.
way we want it, so we'll certainly do that.
And Karen is aware of it. I talked to her about
Yeah.
it, so, yeah.
She knows what they have down there, so
Yeah.
she's confident.
Just so we're not surprised.
Yep.
Yeah,
No.
but I do plan to be there Monday, just to get the lay of the land.
Okay.
Make sure that everything's squared away. I'll probably go there with Karen.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Perfect. So yeah, Liz, that will be taken care of.
Awesome, thank you.
No problem. Do you want me to just go over quickly the other item with Barrett was the handout?
Sure.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so they created one for us. I'm not in love with it, but I'll let you guys be the judge.
Does it rise to the level of Liz's handout?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, excellent job, Liz, on all of that.
No one's as good as me with my design skills.
I'm very impressed.
Here we go. It's not as pretty as yours, Liz. So,
Well, an engineer did it, so.
well, I didn't do it. Barrett did it. Easy. So this one, it's two-sided, which basically goes over the law. Basically why we have to comply, what happens if we don't comply, and then what the as of right means, goes over the density requirements. This affordable housing component is another item that they added, and then kind of, which this comes from the slide, what does the law not say, which is basically that you don't have to, there's no requirement to actually develop the units. There's no requirement to pay for the infrastructure, that sort of thing. Liz mentioned that there was a handout from another community that was a really good example, because one thing with this, it goes over the basics stuff, but it doesn't exactly go over what our solution is. Nothing about that.
More generic.
Well, this one's more generic and, let me just show you. There is one that Weston did. Was Weston successful? It's a good question. I don't know.
You put that over the Mass Pike.
That would not surprise me.
This is the one that you were talking about, Liz, right?
Yes, this was good, but they also had on their website like a list of FAQs, which seems to be more in line with what Barrett had done. So maybe we don't need that, but I do think this is nice looking. I mean, they obviously have a project website, so they're clearly a step above what we're doing, but yeah, I think this looks nice and clean and I guess we could put on, some of the future dates like the town meeting and TBD in October for our next community outreach. But yeah, I think this looks a little bit nicer than the other one.
The thing that I liked about this one was on the second sheet, they actually showed the overlays that they were looking at. They were gonna do 3, it looks like. Which obviously, like, I don't think it has to be this wordy, but I think, a visual representation of the areas, I think would be really, really nice for people to have.
Important thing, people wanna see where's it going.
Exactly.
I think this is great.
I agree. I think this is the route and this route, we have the images and the GIS in place from Barrett's initial, matter of fact. Hopefully nobody has vertigo because that might be affected after this meeting.
Will that be hard for you to cull through or make it applicable to us?
No. I'm gonna show my presentation really quickly that I had in front of the select board. Just because that one this was strictly from Barrett's presentation, which I thought showed the areas pretty well. So that's the Charles location. And then the other one was Mechanic Street, the Curtis Apartments, which had like the nice locust map and everything. So I think those are kind of the critical items that can be shown. So, and if we want to show the action, I think this tells the story better than actually pulling up the aerial image that shows the buildings and stuff. It might be good to put that on the PowerPoint presentation, but I wouldn't put that on the handout. I would put something like this on the handout that clearly shows, I don't know if you all agree.
Would you label any streets?
Yeah, I would. It's kind of, they are labeled, but it's tough to see on this.
Mhm.
So when it's on an 8.5 by 11 sheet, it's gonna be even more difficult to see. So, but yeah, I think that you're definitely gonna wanna see that. And then like we have GIS too, so you can mess around with that. I can do that easily enough as well to make it even more clear. This doesn't, send the message. But
It's pretty clear. It's
I agree.
pretty clear. It shows where's it,
Yeah.
go. Got the street and then the nice color coded.
Absolutely. So I think that's what should be on the handout. And Liz, to your point, like having Barrett's kind of overarching handout might be nice, but this I think will help too.
Yeah, so maybe we could have, the one that Barrett put together and then our own version of, our own flyer. And then people can, take them from the meeting. Have we confirmed with Barrett that they're gonna be able to do the printing on this? And, if not, just let me know.
I'm not totally convinced that Barrett will be able to do the printing, but.
Okay. But we can talk offline about that. I don't think we need tons and tons of copies because then we can, if we run out, obviously we can print more, but I also think too, we could ask people if they wanted in an email version, we can PDF it and send it that way too.
Yeah, and I think we have the resources to print them anyway, so I think we'll be okay for
Okay.
that.
I thought I
Alright.
recall that she mentioned that they were gonna, provide all the necessary information for the
Yes.
public reach.
You're absolutely right.
If I recall that correctly, it's, I mean, in my opinion, my understanding is they were supposed to provide that for us to, to share with the public.
I agree.
And I think we might need to ask that to them.
Oh, it's Thursday night right now.
I mean,
The
it's,
timing's.
Rob's been having some extensive conversations with them today, letting them know he's not too pleased with, kind of.
I'm pretty sure, I mean, that's what she said twice
She
on the
absolutely
meeting.
said that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I think they should just press on that, I mean, just for the principle of it, because, and I think, we ask millions of questions on those meetings, and I'm pretty sure we can go back and review, but I think that's what she said.
No, she did.
Yeah, they
Okay,
did.
so then- Okay, then, so then
Yep.
if they
Yeah.
said that, then, it's, they should be able to provide that stuff, it shouldn't be falling onto you or anybody else.
I agree.
And I think, that we need to maybe send a little message to them, just tell them that's what we said, that's what we agreed. And that's what I.
That's what they're getting paid for with the state grant.
Thank you very much. I mean, I was gonna say that, but
Rob was rather, direct with them today. and
Yeah.
Let them
Yeah,
know.
because
that-
I mean,
There
it's
is,
not,
I would say there was a little bit more than a message that was
because
sent.
we adjust the timetable, the one we were gonna have this meetings too, so I think
Pushed it
we
out.
pushed it
You're
out
right.
a little bit.
We
And I
did.
think they should be
Yeah,
prepared by now.
did.
Yeah.
We did, we gave them extra 2 weeks.
Yes.
Yep. No, you're right.
I don't
And,
remember everything, but I
Just
remember.
where-
Yeah,
On the other hand, though, I think with, the miscommunication going on in town. It'd be nice if they could be available to assist in answering questions. So it's not perceived, it's spotterless. Telling the town what to do. We need to be careful of that balance.
yeah, and I think I envision for the presentation itself that, when it comes to the regulatory overview, I think Barrett can go over that in the presentation. When it comes to perhaps the grants at stake, maybe Dennis, if you wouldn't mind speaking to that.
The financial impact.
Yeah, and then as far as, requirements for the town, the proposed overlay locations, the conclusions and summaries going over the areas, I think maybe myself or Liz can kind of get that finessed.
Totally agree.
But yeah, primarily, Barrett's really there to answer the technical questions
Mhm.
because I envision that most of the questions aren't going to be very technical, but you never know. And I do know that, I know I had some questions about the whole modeling of this and meeting the compliance, and there very well could be questions that are about that, and that's why we have a consultant.
Why 750?
Yeah, those are the things that, I think Barrett can answer. And Sarah did confirm today that she will be at the June 11th meeting.
But I mean, most of the stuff we can cover, like technical stuff, I think it is, available. I think that will be awesome, take some pressure off. From the committee.
Yeah, no,
It's,
absolutely.
Like Dennis said, I mean, that's why they got the, the grant for.
Yeah,
That they were on top of the list.
yeah, and
By the
yes,
state requirement, and then when the state provide all the information.
yeah. Today was a little bit of an uphill battle, but we got there. So as much as we could, but anyway,
Yeah, I think we're in good shape to present what information we have.
I mean, even your slide, when you prepared for the select board meeting and then some of the materials we just saw. Similar, I think it's just pretty clear.
yeah,
And I think
absolutely.
we put quite a bit of information out there.
Yeah.
Once the public sees it, I think it will be more clear. And
Agreed.
then when it comes to that, a lot of misinformation, I think we can handle that right after the June 11th meeting in itself. And then we can, once we pass the flyers, more information, and I think it will be pretty clear.
Yep, I think we might have to remind people.
Yeah.
This will be repeated, early in the fall.
Yeah, agreed, absolutely.
Okay, so it sounds like we have consensus on the handouts and the flyers, the presentation, Barrett's participation in the meeting and their, Rob will speak with them about the printing. So I think that covers all of those things. Rob, what else do we need to cover tonight?
One other item that we should probably discuss briefly is just as far as after the June 11th meeting, what we want to do, because I think we should meet again after as kind of a looking at how the meeting went and maybe going through some input. And
Yeah.
I was thinking, why don't we push it to, into the summer, but I think it would make sense while it's fresh, maybe do it sooner rather than later, maybe at the end of June
Yeah, like maybe first week of July.
or that.
Or we could do it the same night that we have the, one planning board meeting.
Yeah, I was gonna say that probably we can do that.
Is that too late?
No, I don't think so. Let me,
Yeah, we get a calendar over here. Today is the 6th. When is the next meeting? The 20th?
let me take a look.
It's the second Thursday, I believe.
That will be. That will be next week.
I don't think it'll be the 18th of July.
Is it June or July? I'm sorry.
July.
Oh, July, I'm sorry. So I'll just leave that. And also, after we have all this, information to be ready to provide it to the citizens after the June 11th meeting, maybe we can, put some of those flyers on the website too.
Yeah, definitely.
So we can put all that information available for the people to, kind of review it.
I agree.
I'm wondering, what other sites can that be posted on in town? I'm thinking, do we have the ability, since it's a, article for the town meeting, to put on the clerk website as well?
Well, yes, so, well, as far as Facebook pages, we can put it on the senior center Facebook page, on the library Facebook page. People seem to get a lot of their news from Facebook.
Okay.
And the school, we can ask the school if we can put it on their Facebook page. I
Okay.
think those are locations that people are going to, but, we could put it on the homepage of the town's website as well.
Okay.
And we're getting close to having a more of a social media presence, municipal presence, much like the other departments do. So we'll certainly get it on that
Good.
as well.
And by the way, planning board meeting is July 18th.
So we schedule on that day then?
Yeah, if that's okay with you folks.
Yeah.
I think,
I'm gonna put on.
I'd be as bold as to say we do, the 18th and the 15th of August,
You want to do August 15th as well?
just to, see what's changed and,
Excuse me, what date did you pick in July?
July 18th.
On Thursday.
Rob, that's good
Uh,
for me. So I think I don't have anything that day, so
Sure.
I'll block it out.
And then,
August.
if you want to do the same thing, because the planning board meeting is August 8th, but yeah, maybe we can. Maybe we can decide on the July meeting,
That's fine.
if that makes sense. But for now,
I
we
can
can,
only be on August. If we push it another week or two, I should be here.
okay,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Oh,
you can
So
just,
probably we
because
can
we might
schedule
not
in
even
July.
need it, but
Okay.
Okay,
yeah,
but if we, it's in our back pocket if we need it.
definitely. Okay. Okay.
Great.
All right, so that's kind of what I had, Liz. I know we have people in the audience if, maybe it's a good time for public input if you're okay with this.
Yes, I think we've covered everything.
Okay.
So I'm not the chairman.
One thing I didn't hear very much of and only read, a couple of lines in one paragraph. All this is because they're trying to bring more workers into the Boston area. Why are they only concentrating on MBTA lines? And what is the benefit to the towns other than not being penalized?
Went for the governor.
I
Yeah,
was gonna say that, yes, that's,
Actually,
we asked that question in our letter, when we send the letter out to the.
And actually, you know, in fairness, it's legislation that was passed by the Baker administration
Yes.
in 2021. So really, it wasn't this administration, it was the Baker administration, but it was the House and Senate, obviously, that passed it. And they will create more, what they're trying to do is create more affordable housing, near transportation to get people to and from the city and not have impact on the highways. But I agree with you. Communities like Bellingham, we're already doing our fair share with all the housing we've created, and that was our argument. We've created probably 1,000 units over the last 10 years, so we've done more than our fair share. And that's what we asked them to take into consideration, but they didn't buy it. Yeah.
If you look,
It would be good to explain that to the general public.
Yeah, that was one of the, yeah, that's a good idea. That's one of the things.
They
Liz
want
was
to know whether
suggesting
they're
is-
gonna expand the
Yeah.
MTA line, so they're gonna do a lot of.
that's not been
maintenance.
discussed.
They just want to fill them with people.
Our, Lisa, you can step in at any time. Our requirements, being an adjacent community, are different than communities that have rapid transit. I think the goal is, and picking up on what Dennis said, they want people to be able to walk to a location, get on rapid transit and get to work. I think the goal is, cleaner air, less vehicles in Boston, and having more people move out to the community. I think they found out during COVID that there was an exodus in highly populated areas for people to moving out to the suburbs.
That's been happening since the sixties.
Yes.
In Boston itself, all the main manufacturing is in the 128 belt and now the 495 belt,
And soon to be probably 146.
probably. Thank you.
In terms of, oh, I'm sorry,
oh, go ahead.
in terms of advertising, can you do a robocall?
We could do a robocall, maybe, for the next forum. We probably wouldn't do one for this forum, maybe the next one.
But
Yeah,
the next in the future.
yep. That might not be a bad idea.
One of the benefits too to having these two outreach meetings is we can learn kind of how things go from this one. And then in the fall, when it's before town meeting, you know, I think we'll be even more prepared to answer, questions and such. I think we are prepared now, but it'll be a good learning curve for us, the whole community. And there might be issues that come up during the June 11th that we didn't really think of,
Mhm.
so. Yeah.
With, all the misinformation, I would be careful, with the pictures that you include in these presentations. I believe that first handout had a picture of a commuter rail station. When people see pictures, they jump to conclusions. If that handout was to get online, people might run with it and spread misinformation. I've already seen online, people think that this might mean the MBTA is coming to Bellingham.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I never thought of that.
So we
So,
show a picture, it should be a picture of present day Bellingham, not.
Yeah.
That's a great point, yeah.
and I think
Thank
that's
you.
what it, my eyesight's really bad, but.
It was, I
if
think, Forge Park is what we're
Yeah.
showing on that one.
If it doesn't have anything to do with Bellingham, I would remove it.
I
Just so
agree.
people don't
Yeah.
get the wrong idea.
Yeah,
And the next thing they're gonna say, oh, here we go, the commuter rail station comes to the downtown Bellingham,
Yeah.
right behind them.
Yeah.
Would it be posted
That's a
on?
good point.
I was asked that question.
pages?
Does it mean the MBTA is coming to, Milford or Bellingham? Because people thought we had, the tracks are still behind the center of town. And that question was asked.
So when you suggested posting on town pages like the senior center library, would you be sharing the handouts on, or would you just be posting information about upcoming meetings?
I think we have the MBTA 3A subcommittee as a link in our, on our website, just like planning board and ZBA.
Yeah.
I would put it right, like the actual handout on there. That would be my,
Yeah, and we can also show you how we have the pictures on the homepage. It'll say, learn more about MBTA communities, and click on that and it takes you to the MBTA page. So it'll be that simple, yeah.
more questions, call Rob.
Yeah. That's right, but not Dennis, Rob.
Yeah.
It does say that, right?
Yeah, that's.
With the caveat that this is zoning, but it's pretty specific zoning. And is the individuals who own those, or corporations that own those properties at least aware that there is a possibility that there's zoning could be changed?
Yeah, it won't be changed, it's an overlay.
It's an overlay.
So they'll
there's
still
more
have the
possibility.
underlying,
We're not
they'll still have
taking
the
it away.
underlying zoning, right, we're taking.
We're not
that
taking it away.
Yeah,
But are they aware that
So Curtis
there's some
is,
things going on with their?
the Curtis is, the Charles is not, so it's a good point, we should reach out to them. But the Curtis is aware of it, but the thing is, we're not taking it.
We're not taking it away,
Yeah,
so
right.
no, they shouldn't have a problem, but they
Yeah.
should be able to at least, if their residents come up and ask a question,
Right.
the office might
Good
want to
point.
know. about
Yeah.
it.
yeah, that is a good point.
One of the questions I did receive
Yeah.
was, what happens to all the people living at the Curtis? When, they have to leave? I said, no,
No.
it's an overlay. And the same thing about the other facility.
Good point, though.
Now, you mentioned, affordable housing for people commuting in and out of Boston. Does that mean that whatever houses they build in that area have to be affordable housing?
No,
Or market value?
they actually can be restricted to, there could be no restrictions
Yeah.
on these properties. So even if we wanted to make them all affordable, we can. The most we can do is we have an inclusionary bylaw, so 10% will be affordable. But to put that into perspective, the affordable units at the Curtis for a one bedroom go for, I think, 1,950 for one bedroom, that's the affordable. I don't know how affordable that is, it's a lot more than my mortgage.
The people here, affordable housing,
Right.
they get a lot of weird connotations
Sure,
that they put with affordable housing.
right,
Oh, correct.
Agreed.
yeah,
And we'll be asked those questions, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
that's a good point, yeah.
I'll just jump in. I definitely think we should probably shy away from pontificating about why the administration or what they're thinking. Because it could be that, oh, they want more employees to not drive and take transit. I mean, we can try to answer those, or maybe Rob and I can look up language specific from the state. Because I think we might get down a weird slippery slope trying to, say things that may not be true, or,
That's fine.
We throw those to the consultants.
Yeah, there you go.
yeah. That's just my opinion. I think we should be a little bit careful about kind of talking about what the Attorney General thinks and what they're trying to do. I think really need to just stick with the facts, and answer the questions as they come, but, in a way that's not gonna create more confusion or whatnot. But I do understand that the public is asking those questions, so, we'll play it by ear, but I think we should be very careful on how we answer some of this stuff.
Yeah, and I think too, that was one of the reasons why I know, in that Easton presentation, they kind of talk about, oh, why should we comply, more diverse housing, all this stuff, which is why I would leave it out of our presentation. as we've discussed, this is a one-size-fits-all legislation. And you look at the two communities we discussed tonight, Weston and Easton. How is Bellingham similar to those communities? I mean, we're vastly different, all three communities, and we're all held to the same standards, so. Anyway. All right.
See you on the 11th.
Yeah, I think we've probably exhausted our agenda, right, Liz?
We need to vote in the minutes.
Oh, yes.
Yes, has everyone had a chance to read the minutes?
They're well done.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the
So moved.
minutes from whatever date,
It's
They are?
May 23rd.
May 23rd. And we just need a second.
Second,
Okay, and I guess we'll do a roll call. Liz Bertholet, aye.
Bill O'Connell on.
Thomas Shea and I.
Okay, the minutes have been approved.
Excellent. So with that, I think we should adjourn, right?
Second that.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Motion made it, yeah.
Thomas Shea, second.
Yeah.
Are we good, Rob?
Yeah, we're good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Want to thank you all for coming.
Here next time.
Good night.